So, welcome everybody to this conference with Le Cercle des Langues. Today we are going to talk about past experiences, using the past tense to recount memories and experiences in a fluid way. This evening's conference is for level B1 to B2. So for the next 25 minutes, we are going to talk about the conference. And for the last 5 minutes, we will have a question and answer session. So please feel free to put your questions into the chat or to put your questions on a piece of paper that we can look at after the conference. So let's begin. In tonight's conference, we are going to look at 4 important parts. The first part is past tenses that help us talk about past experiences. The second is vocabulary for sharing experiences. The third part of tonight's conference will be expressions to introduce and recount experiences. And number 4 is how we share personal experiences. So let's begin. So past tenses to talk about experiences. Talking about past experiences is more than just grammar. It's about sharing who we are. Every trip, mistake, or surprise becomes a story worth telling. In this presentation, we'll explore how to use past tenses, expressions, and storytelling tools to recount memories clearly, naturally, and with heart. So let's begin. When we talk about past experiences, we time travel back to stories that shaped us. In English, we use different past tenses depending on the focus of the story. So the first tense we use is the past simple. Remember, the past simple is the ed, or it has the irregular verb and subject. We have the past continuous. The past continuous is the subject plus to be as the auxiliary and then the verb ing. And then we have the present perfect, which is the subject with the auxiliary to be, to have, avoir, and the past participle. When we are able to use all of them in our conversations, any experience is easily shared. So in the past simple, the main story or the main tool for storytelling. The past simple is your time machine to express finished events. For example, I visited Paris in 2019. My boss called me yesterday. A tip to using the past simple is that you use it when the time is specific, known, or implied. For example, your keywords would be words like yesterday, last night, 2 weeks ago, in 2010, when I was younger. Those are things that imply and show the time precisely. The present perfect is life experiences at a glance. So what does that mean? We use the present perfect when you talk about what you've done in life, but not when you did it. For example, I have tried sushi before. So I'm not giving a date. I am just letting you know that in the time that I have a life, or in the time that I've been on earth, I have eaten sushi. But I do not say when. Number 2, she has never been to New York. So again, she is saying that from the beginning of her life up until this moment, she has never been to New York. In the present perfect, time is vague or irrelevant. The experience is what matters. And we have keywords or time markers such as ever, never, already, yet, before, and just. Now let's move on to the past continuous. The past continuous is like painting a scene. The past continuous is a camera slowly panning across the setting. It shows that an action was in progress. For example, I was walking home when it started to rain. She was working on the project when you called me. So at a particular moment in time, something was happening. And we know that we use the past continuous because it always is accompanied with or by the past simple. And the past simple is the short action. The long action will be the past continuous. So look at the first example. I was walking home, long action. When it started to rain, short action. She was working on a project, long action. When you called me, short action. Some tips for the past continuous are: it shows what was in progress when something else happened, and it adds texture and context or atmosphere. So it's perfect for background actions or emotional build-ups. So these are quite important. So let's test your tense tense. Match the sentence to the correct past tense. So for the first one, we have she visit London last summer. Is it going to be, and you can put your answers in the chat, she visited or she has visited? Wonderful, exactly. She visited. Thank you, everybody. Number 2, I never see that movie. Have never seen or never saw. Okay, Sonia has responded, have never seen. Raymond, Petra. Wow, beautiful responses, everybody. The second one is, I have never seen that movie. Let's look at number 3. We drive when the storm began. We drove or we've driven. We were driving when the storm began. Beautiful, Sonia. Thank you. What else? Was driving, we were driving. Beautiful. So we were driving when the storm began, because began is the short action and what we were doing around that moment. Let's look at number 4. He go to Spain 3 weeks ago. Beautiful. He went to Spain 3 weeks ago. And the last one. I already read 3 books this year. What is the tense? Rashida. Have already read, have reading, have already read, have already read. Beautiful, everybody. Thank you so much. Exactly. I have already read 3 books this year. So to verify your answers, she visited, I have never seen, we were driving, he went, I have already read. Now let's move on to vocabulary for sharing experiences. So we've got verbs of experience. Let's add flavor to your stories. Accuracy plays an important role here. Therefore, we recommend you to use action verbs that evoke memory and movement. For example, I tasted durian for the first time in Malaysia. Let's look at more verbs. So action verbs we can use are try, go, visit, travel, live, meet, see, taste, do, and experience. So experience is a noun, my experience of traveling, and it's a verb. I experienced an amazing thing yesterday, for example. We can also use expressions of time. So it's time to set the stage. It's time to create the scene. These phrases anchor your memory in the moment. For example, last year, back in 2012, when I was a child, a few years ago, once, or one time, or that summer. For example, back in 2012, I lived in Chile for 6 months. So you can also mention how you truly felt at that moment. It also helps you add color and emotion to your scene. For example, exciting, unforgettable, terrifying, relaxing, boring, magical. For example, it was the most unforgettable concert of my life. So all of these are adjectives. Something we need as well, and it's very important to have a cohesive story. It's connective. Your connectors guide your listener because it tells them what is the first thing that happened, what happened after. It helps create a path for your story. And we have popular connectors in English, such as first, then, after that, suddenly, while, finally, in the end. For example, first we missed our flight, then we lost our luggage. In English, It's very important to say after that, because there's a trap. If you say, I went to the Louvre after I went for ice cream, it's a way to say, je suis allé au Louvre après que j'ai mangé une glace. And that is a problem because we are not saying what we did after. We are saying that this action came before this action. When we say after that, c'est après ça, something else happened. So we just need to be careful of the traps. So let's practice together. You are more than welcome to put your responses into the chat. I go to Brazil and have the most amazing time. You have went and had. Exactly. So I went to Brazil and I had the most amazing time. Back in 2018, I meet my favorite author. Back in 2018, I met my favorite author. We miss the train, but take a bus instead. Exactly. We missed the train, but took a bus instead. Three years ago, I finished my master's. Rashida says finish. Stefan says finished. Raymond finished as well. Jean-Louis, beautiful. And the last one. Last summer, work as a lifeguard in Australia, it was outstanding. Donc, on a un sujet qui est raté ici. I worked as a lifeguard. Beautiful. So, here are our corrections. So, what are some expressions to introduce and recount experiences? Starting a memory. You hook your listener with familiar openers. For example, I remember when. This may sound crazy, but, or back in, it all started when. These phrases build intimacy and interest. You are inviting someone into your memory. So it's the perfect way to start your story. We also look at giving details. Don't just say what happened. Paint the picture. It was so peaceful. I almost fell asleep on the beach. The place was full of color and energy. The sunset was out of our imagination. The more details you give, the closer to reality you make the listener feel. We also try to emphasize the uniqueness to make your story stand out. You use phrases like, it was the first time I rode a horse, for example. I had never felt so comfortable, excited. I suddenly understood why. I was sure I was right until I wasn't. everything was going fine until. For example, it was the first time that I felt so comfortable in the office. You are adding uniqueness. And we can also create suspense or surprise. And every good story has a twist. For example, suddenly or out of nowhere. To my surprise, then without warning, right when I was about to. For example, out of nowhere, the quietest student in the class raised her hand and asked the one question no one could answer. And then to finish your story, you wrap it up with meaning. For example, in the end, or after all that, it wasn't what I planned, but, so yeah, that was. A tip is that a strong ending brings closure and helps your listener reflect with you. Let's look now at sharing personal experiences. You would like your story to be as fluid as possible. So there are 4 golden rules. Use clear time expressions. Number 2 is to add your feeling and emotion. Try not to just list events. Connect the events. Avoid and then too much. Try to use different kinds of connectors. Great storytelling is like music. It needs rhythm, pauses, highs, and lows. So, when you are writing a personal story, use these questions. Tell me about a time you tried something new. Think about what did you do? When and where did you do it? How did you feel? And what happened in the end? Use the structure to guide your storytelling like a true narrator. In conclusion, using past tenses and vivid vocabulary helps us bring memories to life. Whether it's a funny moment, a challenge, or a life-changing experience, your stories matter. So don't just tell the facts. Paint the scene, express your feelings, and let your voice be heard. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for this conference with Le Cercle des Langues.